Salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Misadventures podcast with Taylor, where we discuss anything and everything in the writing world, including my own experiences. This week, we discuss the severe issues with relying too heavily on AI in the creative process, both in film and print. Please enjoy. Hello. Welcome to the very first episode of the Misadventures podcast. I'm Taylor. I wanted to make this to be a place we can introduce people to writing in various parts of the world. I'll be talking about film, about my own projects that I'm working on, and trying to fix the garbage fire that is previous work, especially from when I was younger. But today, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. It seems I can't go a day without hearing about AI. And the new video program Sora recently came out, which is going to change a lot. And there's been some recent accusations of even Disney using AI to write songs from the movie Wish in particular. It's just everywhere. Well, after several weeks of learning all I can on the subject, I gotta say the issue with AI and creative writing runs much deeper than I originally thought. Now, most of what I read was about new filmmakers in AI because of the strikes from last year. It was everywhere. But these things really apply to all writers and even other artists as well. So, firstly, I need to say that I don't think AI is necessarily a terrible thing. I think it's a really useful tool, and I don't think banning it is the answer. I'll talk more about how I think it could be used in the film industry later, but I think using it even for basic writing, like character generation, is a lot more serious than it gets credit for. By now, most people know that programs we call AI are not actually artificial intelligence. Machine learning models, or ML models, like ChatGPT and Midjourney, as well as older facial recognition programs or smart assistants like Siri, have gained the name AI over time because their programming is based loosely on the human brain. It simulates neural connection in a very basic way, making it nowhere near true artificial intelligence, but the name is still stuck. I will also be calling it AI in this video because it sounds cooler. But right now, most of the talk is about the fancy generative AI that can create unique essays, scripts, and images in seconds. But generative AI has actually been around a lot longer than I think many know. In fact, the first piece of AI art to enter the market was all the way back in 2018. The piece was called The Portrait of Edmund Bellamy, and it actually looks quite a bit like an old portrait, only this one was signed by some code instead of an artist. By now, it's common knowledge how this works. Previous works of artists, plus the entire range of the all powerful internet, are fed into the system, which it then takes elements from and combines to create something new. Here's the issue. Sometimes it doesn't scramble it up quite enough and spits out something pretty dang similar to a human artist's copyrighted work. However, due to a lot of very important people deciding to research the subject, the article Minds, Machines, and the Law, the case of volition and copyright law by Chatterjee and Fromer, have determined that while humans are always acting with intent and will be held to that standard by the law, the exact opposite is true for computer programs. The article states, quote, machines can, and to some courts always, lack volition, even when carrying out acts of copying for which they are centrally designed, end quote. By the law's standards, AI is incapable of acting with intent. So what does that mean for copyright law and the artists who are getting straight up ripped off? More than anything, it means a lot of trouble for designers. But copyright might just be the least of someone's worries when trying to create AI generated art. Machine learning models rely heavily on one thing, their training data sets. These training data sets, especially for image generation, include pages upon pages of photos, drawings, art pieces, and anything else the model might be prompted by a human to generate. Most, if not all, of these training data sets, it's difficult to distinguish because many companies actually share the same training data sets just because they're so expensive to make, are extremely limited in their diversity and worldview. Their data leads to some seriously biased results into some American centralized culture. and mostly dudes. But we'll talk about that in a second. Amy Webb gave the example of a bride when she was talking about this subject. Ask an AI model to generate an image of a bride, and it will present a woman in a white wedding dress. Now, we as humans, with the knowledge of cultures and customs across the globe, know that the term bride can look vastly different from that image. Yet, the AI models are presented mostly, if not entirely, with that one variety of bride. And remember, these data sets are shared across companies. So it's not just one program that this is happening to. That's not good. This is where its place in the arts in general, but particularly storytelling and film, really comes into question. Art is meant to challenge the status quo, introduce diversity, and change the worldview of its audience. Biases in AI make all of these things impossible, as it is specifically designed and trained to generate what it believes from its training data is the status quo. It's not meant to challenge that. Unfortunately, this is nothing new. Bias has been around since the beginning of traditional AI. Joy Buolamwini wrote an incredible book about her experience as a woman with dark skin at an MIT coding career. This job involved frequent use of facial recognition software that consistently failed to recognize her face. It was so problematic that she had to wear a white costume mask to get it to scan her successfully. This problem led to her diving into the cause. She researched a lot of facial recognition software at the time, which was one of the first things that used this traditional AI programming. She ran tests on several facial recognition data and revealed a serious issue with them. Her results show wide accuracy gaps in facial recognition, not only between men and women, the largest being 33.8% between darker male and female faces, but another 34.4% difference between lighter and darker faces on average. In an art form where diversity should be celebrated, a 34.4% favor towards white men is a 34.4% loss of progress in the future of diverse characters in books and film. So back to Amy Webb. I told you I was going to bring this up. She's done a lot of amazing stuff with these AI image generators. She proves these similar problems in modern generative AI. She ran a test with Midjourney, a commonly used image generating model. She wanted to know what it would take for this thing to generate a woman in a high ranking business position. She asked a thread of prompts asking first for the CEO of a large hospital system, then the CEOs for medium and tiny rural hospitals. Each time, the model produced the same result of four adult white male CEOs smiling in front of their giant hospital. Desperate to get the program to produce a female CEO, she asked for, quote, the CEO of a company that makes tampons, unquote. Not only did the program, again, produce four older white men, but they also held products that in no way resembled tampons. It's genuinely freaky. So, in the program's world, in its little brain we've created, the term CEO is synonymous with the term older white man. Those two mean the exact same thing in its mind. Granted, these tests were run in September of last year, so I decided to ask the same prompts now, March 2024, to see if anything has changed. Let's just say nope. I asked the same prompts and got the exact same results of older white men in uncanny valley hospitals because it's AI. So here's some fundamental design problems here. AI is designed to maintain the status quo of its training data, which we have just established is quite limited. It is not designed to challenge common ways of thinking or represent a human experience, or in this case, a program's experience. It's not meant to reflect its own mind. It's just a conglomerate of other people's work with no intent as deemed by law. Art's dictionary definition is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. Its whole point is to share an experience, challenge a society, and reflect or impact the human condition, or program condition. But again, it's not trying to do that. An algorithm capable of copying that and reflecting its own experience would be a technological miracle. But modern AI programming is so far from even coming close to that. It creates new stuff, yes, and it is programmed to be passable. Maybe. But it is incapable of creating actually compelling art with intention woven into every aspect. Which in film, there's a lot. There's a lot of humans that have to come together to make each visual or sound element important in some way. Instead, if art is left up to AI models, creativity and imagination become something motivated by productivity instead of art. This will lead to an attempt to quantify concepts like art, imagination, and creativity. In a way, they do simulate these things in the same way a child might, because these models are loosely based on the functions of the human mind. They can give us a model to show how human creativity works on a very rudimentary level. However, AI has a much more basic system when compared to humans. It can create something humans haven't thought of using things that they have, but it is fundamentally incapable of creating something humans can't think of. Humans are the greatest computers on Earth, taking in hours of visible and invisible data every night. And this data is a lot more diverse and world spanning than very limited data sets. To replace the greatest algorithm on Earth with a feeble copy would be nothing short of a tragedy in the art world. This makes AI unfit to make effective art, for sure. That said, I do not think AI is completely useless, particularly in film, where there is so much technical work. There was a big battle of people wanting to have their jobs protected from AI taking it, and then there were the people that's like, but it's okay, AI can do so many things though. It's not like you need a job or anything. But one argument in favor of AI was that it makes filmmaking more accessible to the aspiring youngsters like myself. OpenAI's new video generator, Sora, would make this even more possible if these new filmmakers could get access to computers with enough storage and computational power to use these videos. This is true that those unable to hire editors or actors could then still make their projects using these programs. Maybe for some it would even increase their quality over if they tried to do everything by themselves. While AI does have the severe faults I've mentioned, using them as a placeholder, basic placeholder, when an aspiring filmmaker does not have access to higher quality talent is perhaps a valid use for AI. It has made it possible for one person with a good computer to make projects that could get the industry's attention. It wouldn't be my first go-to, but if you just can't act, maybe it would be better. It still takes an innovative mind to create a compelling short film all alone, and AI can be a great tool to help new writers and filmmakers get themselves a real team in the future. It certainly is not perfect, considering the bias is still there, but it is better than nothing for a broke kid trying to make it in the film industry. At least that's what I think. There are also other technical uses for AI in film that are more, at least I think, ethical and helpful, even in the professional industry. AI can schedule and chart film days, process computer generated sets using Unreal Engine 5, which, may I just say, is a process I'm absolutely obsessed with. And you gotta look up the sets that they've been using recently for a lot of TV shows where it's the giant LED screens. Oh my gosh. So cool. And it can assist in the advertising for upcoming projects. AI can process travel time, weather, and all of the other things that can impact a successful filming day, and create an optimized filming schedule suited to that day's conditions. Obviously, it would need to be fact checked by a human, but it would take a lot less time to collect all of that data just for one schedule. Regarding set design, the one I was fangirling about a second ago, AI has revolutionized computer generated backgrounds. Oh my gosh, has it read? Oh, I can't even speak. Usually used for sets that would be incredibly difficult to physically build, giant LED screens can be programmed with worlds built in Unreal Engine 5. This allows sets to be customized and previewed in real time. Like when the actors are standing right there, green screen is going to die because of how cool that is. It even provides background lighting, which was unachievable by green screen alone. It's so cool. Also, while not being used to construct the story itself, AI can analyze a written script and predict its effectiveness with the audience, using previous patterns in beloved and hated films. Synalytic and Scriptbooks are programs that do this already. These models assisting in these ways can streamline tech and marketing in film as invaluable and hopefully more ethical tools. So overall, AI is not and will not be for a long time unless it gains consciousness without some severe flaws. It is still just a little baby, and it just can't compete with human artists. Could this change? Of course! I know nothing. If you told me that this is what I would be competing with to get a job as a filmmaker 10 years ago, I would not believe you. But maybe in the future, new ethical and diverse training data will be introduced to replace the limited ones used now. People could develop these programs to have even more neuron connections, allowing more complex processing. Maybe, someday, models will be capable of interpretation and making their own connections from their data. Then we can witness true art by a model intentionally representing its own experience. It would make AI much more than a placeholder name. Until then, artists, filmmakers, and authors, I think, will be much better off relying on their own creativity, even when it comes to concept generation. There will always be human artists, the most powerful generative intelligence, to create art full of intent and purpose and challenge the status quo. And I'm going to keep talking about it because that's apparently what I do now, and this is fun. I want to keep talking about writing. And thank you so much for listening, and please do follow this podcast. I plan to make so much more about writing and stories, and I may even do movie and game reviews this year, depending on how it goes. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.